Hey guys, Andy and Spoken Label back in the house on a Thursday evening. Yeah, it's unusual tonight. It's an evening, it's a work night, and I'm doing a podcast at 8:30 at night. But we've got a wonderful writer with us tonight over in LA, and we've already had problems tonight already because it's with the changing of the clocks and stuff in America. It's not matched up yet. So my guest today thought the podcast was starting an hour ago, and it's just clock global warming, global time changes. So, but we've got the fantastic Talin the poet with me today. Now, I first found Talin, or Tally, as I'm going to call her in this podcast, by chance on Instagram recently, and it's all her work. We'll discuss today is visual poetry, and so there will be a presentation getting shown on this. If I can get it working, and I advise you obviously to look at either a Substack feed or my actual YouTube feed here. The audio will try and cover around as much as we can, but the YouTube will be your best option here or Substack. So, Tally, how are we going over today in LA, first of all? Is it nice and sunny over there so far?
It is. It's hot. It's in the 90s this week, which is
Oof.
quite unusual for March, but I'm loving it. I love the hot weather. I moved here because I wanted to pursue acting and because I hated the cold.
Well, you come over to Manchester where I am, it rains. That's all
I
we
would
get
love
is
to. I would love to go to Manchester someday.
it rains. That's all I can tell you. If you pick March, it rains. Pick April, it rains.
Oh,
Summertime, it rains.
in the
But
summer too.
yeah, we got
Wow.
loads of it we do, but when it gets warm, it gets warm. But it's been nice today actually because it's been and our temperature is about 18 and 19, which is very warm for this time of year, and it's been beautifully sunny. So it's
Mhm.
been really nice. So right now, obviously, we're here to take talk about you today. And now, obviously, you've given us little bits already, and there's a fair bit of ground I want to cover here today. Now, obviously, you've told us already. I know about your acting, but we're not here to really talk about your acting today. We'll talk about your writing. But I want to learn first of all, obviously, because did have you always been acting and writing since you were a child, or was it always been very separate?
It was actually very separate. I've been writing since I was a kid, for sure. I used to write a lot of unfinished short stories and poems. I was published, I think, in the fifth grade in some poetry book. The poem was not very good. Um, and then acting came along in 2010 after I watched this movie called Black Swan with Natalie Portman. And that
Wow,
inspired me to,
wow,
I
yeah.
know. It's really rare when I think anybody feels like they watch a movie and it fundamentally changes the whole course of their life and they embark on a completely different path. Because I was in college studying to be an applied mathematician. And I just watched this movie and just decided to take an acting class. And I just decided I wanted to be an actor. And I spent some time, I was in Wisconsin at the time, and then I moved to Illinois. And then after that, I moved to California, and I've been here ever since.
Brilliant. Now, obviously, in relation to your acting, I want to keep this short, but if people want to track you down, what's been your biggest credits to date?
Biggest credits.
Or
I mean,
no, let's
I'd
rephrase that. Your most favorite credits, then, right?
Oh, favorite credits. Well, it would be a lot of theater work that I've done. They're not really probably plays that anyone has heard of since they're more like original work. But there were plays that I did in the North Hollywood area where the characters I played, I felt very connected to, and I still think about them to this day, and I miss them very much. If anyone who's watching this knows me personally, it would be the Colonel in Slippery Knot, Silas Blankenbleeker in Dispossessed, and also Roz in Moon Over Buffalo. But in terms of like my most notable credit, it would be appearing in a Rise Against music video. But I was an extra, so that's kind of a gray area on whether or not that counts. But it's been a lot of like little one-off short films, YouTube stuff. Yeah. I was also in quick mention of this. I was in this YouTube thing where I played a cheater, and it's sort of like one of those reality, like catching a cheater type YouTube shows.
Oh, wow.
And I played a cheater as an acting role, and it got like 15 million views thing. And it went like, I don't know if it's viral word, but it just got a lot of views and all like 25,000 comments, all hating me and despising me. And it was really hard to like read all of these terrible things people were saying. But then I realized, well, that must mean I must have done a good job to convince 15 million people.
You've done a fantastic job. There's a good story active from my side there. So I've got a nephew who's
Oh, yeah.
19 now, Jack. And if he's listening, hi, Jack. Now, he did a play for Pirates Murder Mystery at his youth theatre the other year. And I think he overdid it on the role he was playing. He was playing a rotter, a real baddie, but what he wasn't the killer. And he did it that well, playing the rotter. Everybody in the audience voted for him. As the killer, if you can
Mhm.
imagine that. So yeah, it's a similar sort of thing. Sometimes it is. So understand you completely. Oh dear. Right. Okay. On to your poetry anyway. Now, as I said before to you, we are going to be talking about your Instagram feed tonight primarily. But I know you've brought out two books, haven't you, as well as poetry. Do you want to tell us a little bit about
Yes.
these? Just to give them
Um,
obviously a quick shout out, even though the books aren't what you do nowadays.
Yeah, I'm feel like weirdly shy about talking about my past work. I don't know if you feel that way too. I don't know why. I think it's because you look back on your previous books and your work and you just think you've grown so much as a person, and so you look back on it and it almost looks amateur, so even though some people said they really like it, but I just get quite shy. But the first chapbook was called Let Sleeping Dogs Lie. And that was written around the time I started my Instagram account for poetry. And it was just basically based kind of revolved around that idiom, let sleeping dogs lie, and just kind of creating this sort of abstract world where everyone is dogs in that sense. So every chapter title has the word dog in, and it refers to some kind of idiom. And it's just about basically my mom and my family and how my mom was very abusive to me growing up. And it's something that it's been very difficult for me to kind of move on from. I still feel very haunted by that. And there's also been a lot of gaslighting by like my family members in terms of kind of like, oh, just getting over it, just bury the hatchet, forgive and forget. So they have a very different mindset about that and how to deal with abuse and trauma. And so I just wanted to kind of pour all of that into that book. So it's very dark. It definitely touches on abuse and kind of the physical things that she did to me, but it was also felt very therapeutic to kind of get that all out there. And then the second chapbook is called B-Side. That one revolves around a clock, the like in the sense of how it talks about like the mundanity of everyday life and how the human race just they get up, they go to work, and that's like the majority of the clock, and then they have very little time for themselves in terms of like running errands or shopping, or then they cook and then they relax and that's it. And I thought it would just be interesting to kind of show that everyday mundanities of the average person's life in a sort of perpetual clock. And that clock is also on it also touches on it's also like on a like if you imagine a record, like an
Hmm.
actual like CD or a record, and if you can visualize like a clock on it. um and that's kind of where B-Side came from, because it's sort of like like with music, you have the A side, which is like your best work, your best music, and then the B side is kind of like, the lesser songs on it. So to me, we're all living, most of us feel like we're living on the B side of our lives, the kind of lesser version of who we want to be.
Interesting.
And yeah, and so how we all strive to kind of flip the record, right? And be on that A side where time works a bit differently. Maybe that looks like more freedom to do the things we want to do, but how we're stuck on that B side record where the clock is just, you know, going around in that same kind of hamster wheel. Um, so yeah, that's kind of it's about.
Brilliant stuff. No, good, great idea indeed there. Now, obviously, you said before, obviously, we know we're going to talk. I'm going to introduce some of your Instagram pages in a minute on the presentation, which people are wondering, I've never
Sure.
done this before, so this could go wrong. But I want to learn before I bring this presentation in, what made you want to do this on your Instagram feed and start doing, obviously, which are quite, in some cases, very abstract work. So,
Yeah.
what made you want to change direction with this?
As in to put it on my
Yeah.
Instagram?
Yeah, first of all, yes.
Well, I just look at it as kind of the only medium, not really the only medium, but the best medium to kind of showcase this kind of work, because Instagram is a very visual kind of social media layout. And I do have my qualms with social media and Instagram in general, but I just think that Instagram, it works well for the visual aesthetic of work. Um, eventually I want to branch out into other platforms like YouTube, for sure, YouTube. Maybe making a Substack, but for now, Instagram is, the best sort of medium for my work. And I look at it as a marketing tool as well. It's a free marketing tool. It's a way to connect with other writers. I've made some friends.
Because you're
And
on it, you're on air now, aren't you? So that's what one just shows you
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And people like you, I'm fortunate where they find my work and they like it and they resonate with it. And that's all I want. I try not to pay too much attention to the engagement aspects and the metrics because I think that's just kind of like a black hole to forever fall down into because it's never going to be enough. You get likes and comments and follows, and then you want more and more and more. And it's never going to be enough. So I don't even really look at that stuff anymore. And it's nice because then it just becomes about the work,
Yeah.
not about the sort of vanity of it.
Yeah. No, agreed. I agree with you completely. I agree with you. When I use social media, it's a very similar engagement altogether. So it can hook you sometimes, not always for the best. So I do agree with you there. Right.
Yeah.
Should we try to get this presentation working now then?
Sure. That would be
Right.
great.
Okay. Right. There now. Sharing it. There we are. Yep. People should be able to see this now. And like I said before to you, the first one I've got here is this can't relate slide. And
Mm.
now I want you to tell me first of all, people can see this if you look at the slide here. They can see on the word can't relate and I like and I hate with hate circled. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, the topic's obviously quite straightforward, obviously, of what you told me before. But
Yeah.
what made you want to actually do this piece in this style?
Well, I don't know if you get this from my work, but a lot of it has a very strong underlying current of hatred of the human race.
Yeah, I've
Um,
noticed a few of them about your mother as well in there as well. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's just, I think a lot of it comes from observing people both off of social media and on social media and just observing their behavior. And I think just getting very internally riled up and angry from it, and that fuels a lot of my work. Um, in this case, I think it should be pretty straightforward. It's basically that um, it comes from the fact that like if I always find that people who write work or people who put out work that is relatable are the ones that are going to get the most likes and the most traction simply because it is relatable. Oh, someone can relate to it. Now, if someone cannot relate to a poem or an artwork or a photograph, they tend to not like it. They tend to hate it because when we can't relate to something, we don't understand it. And what we don't understand, we tend to hate. Um, and I think internally that comes from like growing up as the weird kid, right? If you've ever been like bullied in school or people called you weird, it's because they didn't understand you. And when they don't understand you, they tend to hate you. And so that's kind of a culmination of all of those things kind of led to this.
Yeah, no, I get it completely. It does. There's a lot of anger in this, and I love the fact we did it with a circle in the hate. I thought nicely done in a subtle but direct way. No, great choice. Okay,
Yeah, thank
let's move on to piece number two. So we've got a few here today, but I want to touch as many as we can. Now, this next one's a bit different. Can I have a look at the screen now? Is this one's got people under lots of liquid grey boxes here. And
yeah.
I was, people wonderful. They took me ages to find some of these because I made a note of this during the week, and I thought, oh, I'll do that piece. And then I'll tell you on to tally, I took about 15 minutes to find this one because I'm that short-sighted. I was having to squint at
Oh,
some of your slides.
oh, yeah, yeah. It's
But
a lot of it is also meant, it's small on purpose, so you can kind of stop and be like, ooh, what is that? And then you zoom in on your phone.
yeah, now
Um, yeah,
Now, people are wondering, obviously, there's lots of little grey boxes, and in
yeah.
one near the bottom, you've got one in black that says, "Why do you all want to look the same?" Now, obviously, what made you want to do the piece in this way?
Well, basically it also comes from again observing people. And if you kind of just look at the trajectory of Instagram, especially, and the way people post selfies, and how makeup and beauty is a very soaring trend, right? And so if you notice, a lot of women, especially, they all want, to kind of have that Instagram kind of look. They want the big lips, the small nose, the big eyes, the high cheekbones, right? And so they all want to achieve that. And so that's where all of the pink square, I look at it as like actually like reminiscent of an iPhone, like because it's like a rectangle, so it's in an iPhone shape. And they're sort of pink, just to show, kind of that Instagram beauty aesthetic, right? And then the black one kind of represents me, where I feel like the outlier, sort of looking around at everybody else who all wants to basically look the same. And it's just me kind of, metaphorically looking around at the human race, especially women, and just asking like, why do you all want to look the same? You all spout about how, oh, beauty is in originality and we're all beautiful, but there's so much hypocrisy in that. Nobody actually believes that. Come on.
Yeah,
If we
agreed.
did really believe that, then why do we all want to look the same? Why do we all want to look like Instagram or TikTok models?
Yeah,
So
it's a recurring problem, I think, with Instagram because the amount of times, well, I know for a fact, like, is, and I'm just trying to mind a writing page, and you constantly getting like OnlyFans women trying to contact me all the time, and it does happen a bit. Not that I'm interested,
mm,
and it's people need to realize sometimes you're all trying to do the same, and I got that completely. Fantastic piece. So
thank
okay,
you.
let's move on. Right
This is
now,
so
it's what sorry, Talin.
this is so cool, by the way.
I know
I just
it's working really well
that's
actually. This, yeah, I'm really
yeah.
pleased with this today. Really pleased with this. So, right,
Yeah.
okay, moving on then. Now, this one's obviously people are wondering here. They've got two lines, And I've got to turn my
Hmm.
head, look, check what the other line is yet. Right. I haven't looked. I like the way you did it. Humans can be trusted. And if you look upside down, the second line is, I just haven't found one yet. And I think that's brilliant. Now, okay, what's beeping at me here? Oh, sorry, one second. Right. Don't know what's beeping at me. That's me a plug. Sorry about that. Right. What made you want to do this piece and next one, the humans can be trusted piece then? Like
Um,
this.
Basically, there was, and very few people are going to know about this, but there was a deep betrayal that happened within the past few months in my life. Someone very close to me, I found something out, and I was extremely heartbroken about it, and it was a very, very deep betrayal. And I've moved on from it, but sometimes you have these sort of lines, right? Like either like images or poetry lines that kind of pop in your head sometimes. I look at it as sort of like there it's all very like suppressed, and it just sort of bubbles up sometimes into your awareness. And this line just popped up where it was humans can be trusted, as in, it's sort of direct and maybe hopeful, but then sort of undercut by, I just haven't found one yet, in the sense of I thought I did, right? And they turned out to betray me, this sort of angel of a human being who I thought was the most trustworthy person on planet Earth. So it's kind of saying it's almost like very pessimistic. It's I don't know, it's kind of like a duality of like optimism and pessimism. It's like I'm sure there is a person out there that won't betray me or someone else, but in a way we all kind of betray each other, and in a way it's kind of like a cynical, like humans are like that kind of thing. I hope I'm wrong, but so far I have found no evidence of that being true
Good luck.
because of this betrayal. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it, but good luck with the future straight away. I like the fact where you're looking at two versions of reality but turning upside down. That's where it really got me, that piece. Great stuff. Okay,
Thank you.
next piece is a two-parter, this one. And
uh
now, obviously, there's two doors here on the left, and you've got exit on the left and enter on the right. And there's this, what's that sign above the enter door? I can never, I'm hoping there's signs and doors.
yeah, it's on the door as a caution
That was it.
sign. Yeah. So it's just basically like if you enter here, it's a warning. Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
warning of you don't know what's happening, but it's danger ahead.
yeah. No, obviously, the second slide is part two on the slide. I presume it was the same piece. Is rumination is temptation is damnation, and that's a mouthful after a glass of wine or two as well. So now, obviously, tell us about then out these two slides. Which out the two of them came first?
The first one, the doors, came in my
Hmm,
mind first, and this is from my upcoming book, which I will talk about in the end. But this
brilliant.
is upcoming book, and basically, without like spoiling anything, it just has to do with kind of how if you've dealt with anxiety or OCD, which I've had the pleasure of dealing with for all of my life, in my mind, it mentally feels like there's doors in the mind, and how there's a temptation to ruminate, right? Whether it's about OCD or whether it's about you're feeling anxious or depressed, right? When you kind of sit and you really, really think and you go down that rabbit hole, that's a very dangerous line of thinking, but it starts with these doors. So you have an option of not ruminating, of not going down that path by taking the exit, the door, and that's why it's green, right? And then, or you can go through the enter door, but it's and it's danger. Like, you as a person know that you're about to ruminate. And so you see that warning sign very clearly, and yet most of us choose to still go through that door. And that's why we're all sort of damned because of it. It just leads to damnation. There's never any good that can come out of going down that dark rabbit hole of rumination.
Brilliant, Seth. No, agreed. Yeah, great point indeed there with that one. It was when I sent you my running order over this. I didn't realise, I have to be honest with you, it was a two-part slide. Because I only
Mhm.
realised when I told you before and was getting things set up before, and I realised, oh, it's two parts this one. And I thought, oh, I
Yeah.
like that. I like the idea of the rumination is temptation is damnation because it takes the first slide on a very different journey. I think it works
Hmm.
really, really well as well. That
Thank
now
you.
the next slide. This is, I guess, a bit more
Oh,
fruity, should we say, right?
yeah.
Now, this one is called "This Is the Last Christmas," and this is a proper wordplay. This one, and I'm just gonna tell people look at the YouTube video, the Substack to get the feel for this, because it's like people will see you put "This is the last Christmas," then you put "maybe for you, for me," and I can't even read what the next word is there. My eyes are going
Um,
for
yeah,
for.
it's supposed to be like as in like it says first and last name, and you can just sort of insert your own name or anybody's name into it. So it has like that sort of signature quality to
Right,
it.
yeah, yeah. Brilliant. That's what I was just trying to read it, and my short-sightedness is kicking in.
Oh, it's
So
okay.
now, obviously, where did the structure and the idea for this poem come from then?
It came around Christmas time of last year of 2025, and
Oh, well, the
just
word I use is no shit, right?
Um, yeah, so yeah, it came just around the holidays, and just the awareness of it, just like, wow, this could be the very last time that I could celebrate the holidays. And we don't really think about that, I think. We just assume that we're granted another holiday or even another day in our life. And it got me thinking about that this book when I read when I was a kid called The Little Match Girl. And of course, I kind of spoil it when I said she dies in the end, but she had one last Christmas in a hallucination. And I guess it does kind of require that you know the story. But basically, the story is about this girl. She's very poor and she sells matches to make just enough money for bread for her and her family. And in the end of the story, she gets so cold, she freezes to death, but she starts hallucinating Christmas and being warm and having a bountiful of food. And it just kind of really got me thinking about that, how we're all kind of one last match away, right, from striking our last match. And then, we're just one match away from kind of becoming like her and sort of, becoming just a star in the sky rather than another, like a living person, you
Oh,
know?
nicely done. Where did because people say it, obviously, there is like, I said before, that maybe there's also somewhere, some time thing, soon, now, just then. And
Mhm.
willingly, unknowingly, obviously, they're all like little questions you're asking.
Yeah.
Were these always going to be in the poem right from the beginning?
Um, Sometimes, they are from the beginning. Like, I guess in this case, I don't know if you feel this way, but like poetry, it has a very interesting, it's sort of like it's something that just happens to you, right? Rather than you writing the poem. And so in this case, these words just kind of came to me, and then you just kind of assemble them this way. But I think the soon, now, just that, it just came to me, just bubbled up, and it just made a lot of sense because, our last time on earth could be, as I write, it could be soon, it could be right now, it could be just a moment ago, sort of like an analogy for like past, present, future sort of thing. And it could be willingly, as in suicide, or unknowingly, rather than it just happens to you, which is the most likely case. Um, but I do like the brackets
Yeah,
with
me
it.
too. Me too. That works really
Yeah.
well, that. Yeah, it does
Yeah.
really well. Really well.
Thank
I also like the little Christmas tree in the bottom of the second page as well.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think it was like, hey, it's about Christmas, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. You got to show some positivity, right? So,
Yeah. And it's kind of like it alludes to the story because the last thing she saw was a Christmas tree too.
ah, right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I thought you were just going to cheer everybody up, but had been miserable for 2 pages.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, let's move on then. Something a bit more abstract now. Now,
Oh.
yeah, this is an interesting piece because the next
Mhm.
one is obviously it's just a three-line little poem. We are insects to the animal called time, every day, eaten alive. Now, what was the idea behind this? Because this is more your more philosophical side, I presume, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm in a constant state of existential crisis as I joke with people. Ever since I hit 30 years old, I've just been like, holy shit, I'm gonna die soon. And it's just every day this constant sense of urgency, right, that I've been feeling that I can't quite accept or shake away. And so this poem just came to me when I was just really kind of in that state of just being, I guess, very existential about life and how time itself feels like its own entity. It feels like an animal, like a apex predator, and how we as humans are sort of very far under, at the bottom of the food chain, and time is just literally eating us alive. We're all growing old, we're all sort of rotting in that sense. And there's absolutely nothing we can do about it except just continue to be eaten alive. So there's a very dark undertone to
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I definitely that one. Yeah, because people know I'm 53, so it's like yeah. I can full well remember turning 13. It doesn't seem that long ago now either. But no, I agree with you. Your life it changes all the time, and it's a great idea. That okay,
it.
right. And this is well, I don't. This one's a bit more interesting. This one, I want you to describe this one because I'm not quite sure what the squiggles were on the left
Okay,
and right hand
so
side here. But I
okay,
liked it.
this is the teaser for my upcoming book, which I have not announced yet. So it's basically, I hope it looks like a face.
Yeah,
Um,
I can see that. Yeah, and
yes.
I was just trying to work out what's going on with this one. That's why I had to ask you about this.
Yeah, so the title is partially in the top line. If you zoom in, you can kind of make out some letters. But the middle word white is kind of the main part of the title. And then March is like the nose, which means it'll be announced in March. And then the frown is a liminal psychedelic journey, which basically it's kind of, for me, it's my first real journey into like full on experimental visual work. And then I think next to this post was also like the doors with the rumination, temptation, damnation ones.
Ah, right. I think it
It's
was.
sort of
Yeah,
like, yeah, so it's sort of teasing like this next book is going to be extremely visual. It's going to be like a movie, but instead of watching a movie, it's almost like you turn the page and it's your perspective sort of going through these doors. So it's liminal, as in it's I don't, are you familiar with like liminal space? It's kind of like
yeah.
a big thing going around. Yeah, so for those that don't know, liminal is just kind of, it's like minimal in aesthetic. So it could be like a long hallway with absolutely nothing around, and you see like one door, right? So it's kind of like there's a lot of negative space in the photo or the artwork with like one thing or a few little objects to capture your attention. And I think it's a very interesting visual narrative because it allows you to really focus on something like a door, right? Or like a caution label on the door. um and the scribbles, I'll when my book title is announced, there'll be more clarification on what the scribbles mean.
Brilliant. No, no, indeed, I agree completely. I'm looking forward to seeing more about that. I've just had people have seen what I've just had to double check how long we've been going on here for as well, so in case that flashes up. So, right, this looks interesting.
Uh,
This next piece. Now,
I really like that
I
one.
have no idea what's going on here. So, oh, actually, there's lots of lines going on, like it's into somewhat blasting out into space with loads of little circles in the box. So enlighten us about what this one's about.
So this one is called Changes. And this one kind of started in my mind, it started where, you have the rectangle with all these circles, okay? And if you notice, one is missing the circle. So that circle is, now in the center and it's a square, okay? So I think for me, it just for me felt like I'm this is to me what it literally feels like right now. I think to be me, where I was in this comfort zone of all these the circles were like sort of all amalgamations of who I used to be, right? Very just sort of like um how do I describe it? Because a square is like very like almost like rigid and pointed. There's a sharpness to it. So it's kind of like you're getting out of your comfort zone of circle where everything is almost like perfect, right? There's no rigidness. There's like almost like a softness to a circle. And so when you get out of that comfort zone of circles of that softness, I feel like I've become more rigid and sharp in a way. And the red just kind of there's no logic to a lot of the things I do. It's very like feeling and instinct based. So it just felt when you change, when you become a different shape, it's very painful. And so a lot of those red lines, it's a combination of life stabbing me and also me kind of changing, like, in that sort of sense from like a caterpillar to a butterfly, but in this very sort of like painful way. And it's okay if like you or someone else interprets it in a different way. But for me, that's kind of like where it came from, is a combination of life stabbing me as I'm changing, but also kind of like um, you know, uh, just it's weird. It's like talking about it because it's like oddly hard to describe. Do you know what I mean? Do you ever feel
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
way?
I do frequently about my work sometimes, and he's like one person. I think this is a great example of this piece. One person can look at this that's not the writer and see things in a completely different way to the way you might look at it. And I think that's really good, interesting art that is, and particular writing as well. And this is what drew me to this piece because it's just completely out of the box, basically.
Literally out of the box. Yeah, yeah.
That's why I really like it. Excellent stuff. Okay, two
Thank
more to
you.
go today. Now, next one is everything will be okay.
Yeah, I remember this.
Now, I'm sure there was two parts to this. Was there two parts to this piece? Yes,
Yeah, this was two
yes, there
parts.
was. Yes, there was. 'Cause I couldn't get both on the same slide. That's why. So obviously, then, first of all, then, obviously, where did the inspiration for this poem come from? And then we'll talk about some of the interesting topics that come on it.
Yeah, so this is kind of like this came from two places, okay? So the first, if you hear honking, by the way, I'm in LA and that's just how it is here. Because sometimes you just hear shit outside. Um, so it came from a Reddit post, and it was about a story I read about a woman who just had the worst damn luck in her life. As mentioned in the poem, just how she got pregnant 8 times and she had 7 miscarriages, and
Mm.
then the eighth pregnant, excuse me, when she was pregnant on the eighth time she was, of course, probably so excited to finally have a child. And then she gets into a car accident. She loses the baby, um, but she's alive for it. But her body, she's in total paralysis, which I think is probably an even worse kind of hell to be in. And then she is in total paralysis in the hospital, and then she gets cancer. and then dies from cancer, right? So to me, it's kind of like when people say everything will be okay, why do people say that? Where is that coming from? Is that an objective truth? Because for some people, that's not true at all. In the case of this woman, everything was not okay. She had a horrific life. She died horrifically. And so when people say that, it kind of makes me think about this woman. And in some ways, it makes me think about my own life, which is the second part of where it came from, because I go through a lot in my life. And I also feel like I have really bad luck. Of course, not to the scale of this woman, but just how I and a lot of people in life, you feel like you're working hard, you're trying hard, and you just feel like life cannot catch you a damn break. And when people say, just hang on, everything will be okay, you kind of wonder, okay, when and will everything be okay? So that's why there's the arrow switching it, because on one hand, people say everything will be okay, but then with those arrows, it kind of like switches, will everything be okay? Question mark. So that's kind of where it's all coming from.
No, brilliant. I've got to pass the comments, obviously. I liked the fact, obviously, and I also thought I can guess straight away. If you look at the first slide, you finish up with everything be okay, as to cancer that finally took her. Then he's like, I like the fact where, whether it's an action or not, on the second slide, he put, sometimes when I hear that phrase, I wonder if I will too subscribe to her fate, that everything will not be okay. I'm not sure if that was intended or not. But it's like the first slide is about her life, then the
Yeah.
second slide is about your life.
Yes.
Was that intended?
Yeah, that was intended. Yeah. I usually like to start with some kind of metaphor and then tie it back to me in some sort of way. Yeah, it's usually intentional.
I thought so with that, but it works really well anyway, straight away with that. So no, great
Thank
stuff.
you. Thank
That's
you.
all my questions on the slides now. So we will
Okay.
stop the slide
No more.
and then back to reality, just me and you. And for some
That's
reason
fair.
I've gone red faced here. I don't know why. It must be the weird dodgy light in
I
here.
know. I'm in front of a window and my face is just a horrific mess
Oh
right
well,
now.
don't worry, I don't care anymore. I guess my stage in life. So, so right, okay. Some wrap up questions anyway to finish up because before we wrap up today. Now, obviously, you've given us a couple of hints already. And light's gone back to normal now for me. I know. Obviously, I like to ask what plans you have next, and you've obviously hinted already about your forthcoming third book. Now,
Yes.
obviously, I can't ask you what it's called because that's part of the secret. But do you have
Yeah.
any ideas when this book's going to be out yet?
Yeah, so the title and cover reveal, I will post it in March. The actual reveal, I'll still keep it a secret because I like to be cryptic about it. I think you sort of discovered me after the second book because I was very cryptic. The B-side book was announced via Morse code, which
I think that's what
concerned
drew me.
everybody.
I think that's what drew me to you actually, like 'cause I like a
Oh,
challenge.
okay.
That's what I think it was
Oh,
anyway.
yeah. Yeah, I don't like to just announce the book. I love to do like cryptic little puzzles and teasers. And the last one was with Morse code because again with B-side and what I mentioned about it, it was like it was very fitting because it was like a cry for help, right? When we do Morse code, it's like SOS. So this one, it just felt right to tease it via Morse code. And I don't think anybody did, or maybe one person, but if someone took the time to decipher the Morse code, um, they would see the title and the release date and stuff. So I'll be doing something like that very soon with the release, and you'll know.
Brilliant.
You'll know.
I'll know. You'll tell me. No problem with that one.
Um,
Brilliant. Okay, now obviously I'm not going to. I don't want to go into your acting too much because that's obviously is what it is at the moment. I know there could be lots going on with you. People keep an eye on you. They'll find out what
yeah,
you're up to. So,
Yeah, I'll just say like I'm in the middle of making my own short films, which is a lot of trial and error, as you can probably imagine. You know, there's some stuff I filmed and I was like, I don't like the way it looks. I'm gonna redo it. So it's a lot of learning how to be my own director, producer, cinematographer, editor, how to get music and the rights for that. So it's a lot of that because I'm just tired of waiting for casting directors and other people to say yes to me and to give me an opportunity. So now I'm at the point where I'm kind of like, fuck the world, fuck everyone. I'm going to make my own stuff that I feel like is going to be better than most of the garbage scripts I read anyway.
brilliant. Now, obviously, with you obviously doing script yourselves, then obviously, I've got to ask you, since we're talking about this, are you going to be doing like your experimental stuff, or is it going to be more, a bit more?
Yeah. So it's a combination of both. I'm really drawn to kind of European and French cinema where, you know, I don't know if you've watched like any European films, but it's very, there's like
Well,
a
a
quiet.
few, a good few, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a quietness because in American cinema, it's all about the performance, right? And the Hollywood. But in Europe, it's very like lived in and quiet. And I was watching a few days ago, I was rewatching this movie called Anatomy of a Fall, which is a French film. And the actors, I mean, it's like, were they even actors? They were almost like real people. And that's what I love about European cinema. It's like you're watching real people. And that's not only the type of acting I'm drawn to, but the types of films that I'm drawn to and want to create these very lived in human, not even a performance, but just being a human rather than putting on this performance, right? And being all Hollywood about it. Um, so that's kind of one direction. And then the second direction is being more experimental and turning my books into films, which, slight spoiler alert, I am currently working on taking my current book that's coming out into my first experimental film.
Mm.
It's a work in progress, a lot of trial and error. But yeah, I'm very excited about it. Yeah.
Please keep me informed. I'd definitely like to see that towards the artist in me. Definitely like to see if we've got that. Good luck with it straight away. Now, obviously, the last question I've got to ask you today is, where can people find you if they want to get in contact with you? Anything we discussed today?
My phone number and social security is, I'm kidding. Um, my Instagram is fine. Yeah, at Talin the Poet on Instagram. Pretty straightforward. Send me a DM. If you're not weird, I'll respond.
Oh,
Sometimes
well,
I'll go,
you're talking to me, so God help me then about
yeah,
weird.
yeah. Sometimes I do take breaks from social media because it's healthy, right? To just not be online so much. So if it takes a few days, it's not you. I'm just taking a break and exploring the world. Yeah.
Like it indeed, and brilliant. It's been a pleasure today, Tolly. I've actually fully enjoyed this today. It's
This
great to
was
act.
so fun. I wish this could go on just the rest of the day,
Well,
honestly.
if it went on the rest of the day, I'd be getting about to going to bed with about 2 hours sleep and getting up to work. So maybe not, right? So when the third book's out, give me a nudge, okay? I'd love to have a proper chat about that. And instead of doing the overview like we've done today, but it's been a really fascinating chat, this, because it's let me do something I've not done before. So that's always grateful. So
This is so sweet. Thank you so much. Thank you.
thank you again, Tally. Okay, folks. That's it today from Spoken Labour. I want to thank my friend Tally here today. Like I said before, she will be back. She's not told me when the third book's out yet, but I know it'll be out, I reckon, some point this year. So we'll get her back on again. I promise you that now. So, well, thank you again, Tally. Okay,
Thank you.
as Don Callis over at AEW Wrestling says, stay safe and stay over, and we will see you all next time.